E neste último painel, antes da pausa para almoço,
So, one last panel before our lunch break talking about discrimination, but focusing on the subject of racism, where we will not just identify behaviors, whistleblowing on the different kinds of racism, but also the motivators of change, the personalities that might have a positive impact in the effective changes in football so that the sport becomes fairer and inclusive. For the next panel, the moderator Adalberto Almeida, CEO of Squadronic Sports, also the contribution by Marcos Siena, former football player Elton, Ambassador of Liga Portugal, Mauro Silva, Vice President of Federação Paulista de Futebol, and Elder Vitor from Mover Futebol. Do enjoy. Good afternoon. Let me thank Nelson, Rita, for giving us the opportunity to be here to talk about equality, equity. Let me thank Marcos, Elton, Wilder, and Mauro by telling you that what's happening here and that you are experiencing is a unique case in the world where we have 5 black professionals talking about racism in the world. So, congratulations to all of those involved and the organizers of Liga Portugal. Before we give you the floor, let's share a video alongside the Observatory of Racism in Football. This is an occasion to empower where we empower people. We are here to say that black players have shined on stage. I bet that you remember many of them. But what about leading? How many black managers can you remember? The black talent can take on any positioning. That's why we called professores pretos, black teachers, to train a new set of managers. Edmilson Jesus Souza, Wilson Roberto dos Santos, João António de Oliveira Martins, Bruno Simon da Silva Pinheiro, Edinho Rosa, Geronson França Neto. Congratulations, you are summoned to build a diverse future. I'm starting the panel with this video highlighting each one of these professionals and saying if we don't have the opportunity, we won't have professionals. So we have been empowering each one of these professionals in order to reach to this positioning. So I will begin with Mauro. He's online, couldn't be with us. So Mauro, please tell me a bit about yourself, about your role at Federação Paulista de Futebol. And before we start the debate, let me say good afternoon. Good afternoon, a huge pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you for having me. Congratulations on this initiative. It's quite important, quite relevant for us to talk about this subject Truth is, when we talk about diversity, inclusion, racism, we are fighting against historical injustices and working so that we can build a fairer society, a better society. Pleasure to be here with you. I'm Mauro Silva. I'm Vice President of the Paulista Federation of Football. I've played in Spain and in the national team. In my transition, I've been studying a lot, preparing to try and contribute with this industry to grow, to develop, to improve. And as the vice president of the federation, we've done something for us to improve competitions. We've also moved forward in women's soccer. For 4 decades, 40 years, it was forbidden in Brazil, so we are fighting a lot to develop it, so for us to repair an historical injustice. When we're talking about equality and justice, that's what we're talking about. Very proud to do this kind of work. In terms of inclusion, diversity, and racism, we have been made an important part with a committee from November 2022, and we have an agreement with the Paralympic Committee of Brazil, giving opportunity to people with disabilities. So we've changed the general regulation of the competition to bring cases of offense, of discrimination, racism. We've created the No 15 Integrity Committee to punish racism, and we have had campaigns alongside the clubs, the marketing department of the federation. So, education and etc. But a very important point is issue of the example, because I always say that people, entities, speech is one thing, but doing things is a whole different thing. There is diversity not just in entry areas. I'm talking about leadership. I'm one of the few black vice presidents. We have women, Ana Paula, Cristina. We have vice presidents also. So, more than just having a speech, which is great, is to give examples, the entity, the diversity, which is so important. Organizations with greater diversity, they are more productive, more creative, because you have people from different origins, an analysis that ends up being plural. So, and I'm very happy for us being discussing this, because the more we have this diversity in organizations, the more we will move forward with a society, this industry of society, different origins that have built this industry, which is so nice, which is football, celebrating diversity and further to work so that there is diversity in entities, in organizations. A very important issue is for us to acknowledge that we are living in an unequal world. Not everyone go from the same departure point for an issue of information, of opportunity. So we need to democratize this, because someone who is born in a community with no computer, with no internet, no access to quality education, they will find it difficult to compete with those who had an education at a private college. So we must recognize that not everyone, some people are starting from behind. So we need to solve this kind of injustice. that happens in our society. It is the duty of all of us. There is a sentence that I love, that when you are neutral in situations of injustice, you are taking the side of the oppressor. Let me repeat. When you have a neutral position in situations of unfairness, we want to build a better society, and all of us, all of us must be aware, because of getting more diversity in terms of organizations. Thank you, Mauro. Marcos, tell us who you are. Tell us about your role. Tell us about your career. First, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Mauro, let me tell you that to me you are a reference. Let me tell you where I'm coming from. You are an amazing professional. I was born in Brazil in a situation exiting or starting a few steps behind, but I've also had these references, the intention of getting there, and I was aware that by fighting I could get there, because those who have been a reference were able to get there, and I thought, why not me? Even if I was starting behind. So not even in my best dreams I could imagine to be a reference for football as a director at Villarreal in Spain, but my path in Brazil was quite fast, and this kind of opportunity that I had in Spain, in Europe, in Brazil, it would be unimaginable. I came to play in Europe. Things happened quite quickly. And I need to convey that by fighting, by working for it, we can do it. And in what I do today, I realize that my bosses look at me in awe. They admire me because of what I became for them. Yes, because you were a reference that you just discussed with Mauro. You had a reference outside, which is Mauro. Because you had a reference in order to have a notion. And that is what brought by the reference of Mauro. Your boss ended up admiring you as a professional and not just as a football player. And that is actually quite interesting. At Villarreal, I have a huge responsibility trying to convey to my admirers, let's call it like this, of all the scope, I try to convey with huge responsibility, and I try to do the best I can to show to them that even hard as it might be, one can get there. One can be successful. Good afternoon, Elton. Tell us who you are. Tell us a bit about yourself so that we can give continuity to our panel, please. Good afternoon. Hello, Alberto. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. It's not every day that we have the opportunity to be at a panel with these people. It's a reference for all of us. Mauro, you are a reference for all of us. There is no other way. Not just as an athlete, but as a person, as a human being, as an example for all. Let me thank Adalberto for giving me this opportunity. And Euler, of course. But let me start by thanking Liga Portugal, represented by the President Pedro Proença. Also two special people in Liga, Rita and Wanda, who have welcomed in an amazing manner. So it makes a whole sense to be here sitting today and to thank you all, because I had the so-called opportunity that we were discussing, that we have debated about, that we asked for. As an ambassador of Liga, I feel proud of my trajectory, of what I went through, of all the things that I had to overcome. There are some who comment and say that they are stepping stones. And as an ambassador, not just giving the opportunity to some athletes that end up having less conditions, less knowledge, less cultural knowledge, if you will, within my academy. We try to give this opportunity, this knowledge of everything that we went through, and opportunities need to be given, but we need to want it too. It's of no use to give this opportunity so that this person doesn't want that opportunity. So the debate that we had in the back, I find it quite interesting. And Alberto, congratulations, because whenever you have the opportunity to discuss, you always bring novelties, and those novelties is an opportunity that we discuss, where we create racism, and many times racism is in our minds. We are aware that society is cruel, as are kids who are not aware of what they will debate with the colleagues. But coming from that cruelty, I think that further and further we need to be ahead of things. So starting with the world, what we are capable of doing, it's of no use to fight. It is actually the opposite. We don't want to fight. We work, and we only request society the opportunity to show how much we are skilled to be there. We don't want to make anyone do it. We are just looking for the opportunity. The fight is when we see the opportunity. We end up feeling upset, sad, and want to fight because of that. Not in the sense of mixing it up, but no, it's asking for the opportunity to show what we are capable of doing. When we are talking about a panel such as today's, I feel proud because other professionals could have been here, black professionals that could be sitting here. I have this opportunity of this amazing event, of being here representing Liga Portugal as a black man. Outside of my country, I was able to get all opportunities and to show where I could learn, to be humble enough to learn with all the others who were here. This is very important for my growth. Good afternoon, Euler. I have a question for you. In terms of what Elton said, that role that I spoke about in terms of black professionals outside of Brazil, a very racist country. How do you see the opportunity of leaving the country and not having in our country all Brazilians with more opportunities outside of the country? Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Congratulations. Pleasure to be here. Dividing the stage with you. Let me thank you, Adalberto, someone who has been with me all the time, who has lived this dream that has been a dream for a whole year. We have been able to put in practice everything that we dreamed of. And I had a dream of playing football coming from the same region of the west of Sao Paulo, a poor, vulnerable neighborhood. And I'm an example that it's possible to experience football even if we were not professional athletes. I was able to get a scholarship at a university, so I'm the clear example that we can use football and education as proper tools for social transformation. Football, many times, is a factory of frustration because many athletes can get to a team not just from Brazil but the world. So we should use football as a tool of inclusion for transformation. Those are the two main tools of transformation within a third world country. Data from the UNICEF said that for each real invested, we save three in public safety and five in health. This is huge. There is nothing that you can invest with such a huge return. So that is the way to go. Many institutions working on fighting this kind of whistleblowing, and we do it through opportunities. Meritocracy is a word we used in Brazil, but we don't believe in it when there are no opportunities. The word for us is not equality. Equality is everyone having the 100 meters, living from the same side. Equity is everyone debating the same race with the same sneakers, with the same shorts, taking the same breakfast, having the same education, far from violence. So we work for equity, not equality. When I look at you, I see myself because you are examples for me. 6 years ago, Mauro is not aware of this. We debated in the PAX meeting, and I was able to see Mauro as an example. He was the only black man there. So it was necessary for me to see myself saying that I have a path that I want to follow and I want to get there. This is one of the great difficulties that we have there, to find people who can be an example. When we talk about this, it's quite impactful for me to be here with you because the number of three black executives working in Europe or in any other country is a bigger number that we have in Serie A and Serie B of the Brazilian champion. We only have one black manager, Jair Ventura. No marketing director, no administrative director. And what we heard before, especially you and Mauro, is that we were not properly qualified. Now we are. What's missing? So I think that's it. To qualify, giving opportunities to those professionals. We must never stop, of course, but to give them the opportunity to work and to perform a role within an institution or within a football club, because we believe in the transformation by SAF, by globalization, and especially not just you who are here today, but Luizão, Gilberto Silva, and so many others. Roberto Carlos. That is the main idea. There is no meritocracy without opportunities. That is our struggle. We are running out of time. We have 15 minutes going into the panel. Literally, after everyone has presented themselves, I would like to quickly listen each one of you in terms of that leadership the source of inspiration that each of you has and is for those who are within the vulnerability of the periphery, of not just being football players. So, Mauro, please. It's very hard. It's a huge responsibility. Our country is quite unequal. We are talking about democracy of opportunities, so I think it's an obligation of us all to work to build a fairer society with more opportunities. Unfortunately, slavery left deep, deep marks in the Brazilian society. 5 million slaves coming to work for 350 years, more than 3 centuries. Those people were abandoned in the streets of the country with no policy for social inclusion to include them. So this has created an abyss, a huge gap, a huge difficulty in terms of education, in terms of food, because children, they go to schools, but they don't even have food. Trying to learn something, sure, but they didn't even had food, so that it's an obligation of sports and society as to work in order to build this better society. References, examples. I'm very happy to see and to have inspired Marcos, Euler, and Elton also, because this is what we need. Debating this issue, this subject, people, children, black executives saying that, well, I will be able to do it also, changing the history. But it's important that we fight so that these cases of these professionals sitting here today, they are exceptions because they had to fight different adversities, different obstacles, lack of food, lack of technology, internet, transportation, quality education. So I think that we must broaden these opportunities, and companies, entities need to work towards that equity, towards that diversity, towards those professionals of diversity in positions of leadership. I think that is very important. We see some companies in Brazil organizing trainee processes, affirmative actions for women or for black people to give the opportunity to make it right. This inequality that we still have and face today. That is a role that belongs to all of us, and I'm very happy for having this opportunity of working to improve the industry of football and at the same time to be a reference, an example, having contributed to inspire Marcos Elton's career and Euler also, motivating us even further, bringing us even more excited to work, to improve football, to improve society, being able to have a greater diversity and greater inclusion in positions of leadership. This reality is quite sad in terms of managers, in terms of executives in Brazil. This lack of black managers, we need to try and broaden this situation because it is a way for us to bring diversity that is within the field into the management. I think that is the hugest challenge. Events such as this one, congratulations, I'm very happy to be here, it's an honor. Events such as this one generates opportunity and debate, which is so important to involve other people in this issue, which is so relevant in our society. Thank you, Mauro. Within this connection of the opportunity, how do the three of you see the opportunity in fighting racism? Let's start with Euler. This opportunity of the professional to fight racism and equity. Football is a mirror holds a mirror to society. And football in Brazil is different than any other place in the world. In some countries, football is a tool for inclusion, for development, for health, for leisure. In Brazil, usually it's the only tool for a boy to dream about better days. It's not just to be champion to win the cup. No, 65% of boys dream about giving a house to their mother. We are talking about poverty, about a kid who doesn't have food. So the opportunity to have a bed, the opportunity to eat something every day, the opportunity to travel, to be far from where they live, far from violence, you know. So when we talk about professionals of working with football or being within the football, the market needs to have that vision that fighting real racism will happen when we give these opportunities to them. We need more examples. Sure, sure we do. But it's impossible to know if someone is good or not if we don't give them opportunities. So experience, we've always believed that the person didn't have to study, that they had opportunities and the ability to take on a position, to be a coach. And this is something that we don't believe in. It is from education. It is from that personal development that we'll be able to change all of this. Society changes through education. The tool that we must use as sports, it's a tool that's inclusive because via sports, via football, there is an increase of 35% of school attendance. And we did exactly the opposite. We decreased to 50 minutes. We spent whole day playing football. So we need to have this vision of how important is football as a tool. We are a country of football, so let's use football to change our country, to help children practice sports, to escape violence so that they have a school frequency. And I'm sure that if we had that visibility of football within ourselves, within our society, we will be able to become a better country, better football, fighting racism, fighting machismo, because it is a work of inclusion, of development, and it is not just limited to black people. Our cause is fighting a collective in terms of inequality that might come to exist, machismo, or any other thing that might have an impact. So our real focus is to change our society via football. Let me finish by saying thank you, Adalberto, for this opportunity. I think that not a lot to say. Building upon what Tilder said, this opportunity to be in the forefront of a project that was quite important, which is the ABC of football, where I also was an ambassador. But not just with the idea of inclusion, but it was seen as a need of a curricular view. So football and futsal were included, bringing education in, which is the biggest step. It's of no use for us to want to have athletes and not just athletes if we don't give them this empowerment, these people, to have more information, more knowledge, and that they can do what we are doing here today, trying to show that it is possible, that everyone should have the same opportunity. That is the bare minimum. We don't have a lot of time. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Adalberto, for one more amazing class. Marcos, please. In terms of what you said, everything has been said. Very important learning. The goal, from my view, is that one day we can reach that equality. I don't know if we will be successful, but this is not just something that depends on us, black people. I think it's a task for everyone, black, white, because we want everyone to start from the same stance. So allow me to thank the organization, to Adalberto, and until the next time. To finish, and before I thank you all, let me tell you this. Each one of you standing here, you are the source of inspiration for future leaders. I don't know if this change will be apparent. I don't know if our children will see those changes, but I'm absolutely sure of this. Your grandchildren will witness this change. Yesterday, I was kidding around saying that having a discussion on the table that Euler would cry. But I get quite moved and emotional because, like Marcus said, that he was the inspiration, that Mauro was his inspiration. I was the inspiration of Marcus Sena and Marcus Assunção. And I'm only here because I was given the opportunity by Eli Coimbra. He gave me the opportunity to be to one of the best agents in Brazil. And each one of you are inspiring a lot of children in Brazil today and here in Portugal, and as a consequence in the world. This is a battle that has been happening for 2 years, and for the first time we were able to assemble a panel, non-aggressive, talking about racism, but talking about the opportunity of each one of you to stop and think. If you give the opportunity of, regardless of color, gender, sex, you will find professionals that are very qualified. What is happening today is something that everyone should go home and think about. We will only be able to fight inequality and racism when we give opportunity to these people. So I do apologize for being so emotional. Let me thank Liga. Rita, thank you. The person who opened the door at Liga, Nelson, Manuel, the president, Pedro Proença, and each and every one of you who have accepted this invite to be here. Thank you all. I'm sorry, let me just say this. You were the only guy capable of putting together this team. You didn't have to do any of this. You do this because this is something that you want to leave as a legacy. This is legacy. Each one of you is legacy to change society. Our grandparents were slaves. Our parents had bulwarks, and now we are speaking in the greatest event in Europe, so equality for all. That's the main takeaway. Thank you.
Chorou pra caralho.
Muito obrigada a todos.
Thank you all. Last panel before our lunch break. We will return for 2 more interesting panels on technology and entertainment for this last day of Thinking Football Summit 2023. See you soon.
Asas, a nova Red Bull Summer Edition. Asas para o teu verão.